welcome back to our channel. Ashley lingered on the cold, rain-slicked pavement, her breath forming ragged clouds in the night air. The neon lights from nearby signs flickered intermittently, casting brief, jagged glimmers across the wet asphalt. Each flash illuminated Derek's figure, close to another woman, their hands brushing in casual familiarity, their laughter warm and oblivious to the storm of emotions raging outside. Every second that ticked by felt like a hammer striking Ashley's chest, breaking apart the fragile remnants of hope she had been clutching for weeks. She could feel the pulse of betrayal throbbing in her temples, her entire body trembling not just from the chill but from the realization that her world had irrevocably shifted. She watched them from across the street, as if distance could protect her from the magnitude of what she was seeing. But protection was impossible. Derek's smile, the light in his eyes directed at someone other than her, stabbed her like a knife. The memories of their shared past, laughter, whispered promises, the intimacy they had built, flashed through her mind in cruel juxtaposition to this cold present. Every memory felt like a lie now, a carefully constructed illusion that had masked the reality of his heart. A reality she hadn't wanted to see, but which was now brutally undeniable. A surge of desperation forced her forward, her legs carrying her against the pull of her own fear. Hands shaking, she almost collided with the stranger's presence, her voice caught somewhere between a whisper and a scream, though no words came out. Her eyes, wide and pleading, searched Derek's, seeking any sign that the man she loved, or thought she loved, still existed beneath the veneer of cold detachment he now wore. But his gaze met hers for a fraction of a second. A flicker, neutral and empty, before he turned back to the woman beside him. In that moment, Ashley understood, he was gone from her life, not just physically, but emotionally, irrevocably. The intensity of betrayal hit her like a physical blow. Her chest tightened, constricting her breathing, while a hot wave of anger mingled with sorrow, creating a visceral storm within her. How could he move on so quickly, so easily, as if everything they had shared had been meaningless? And more painfully, how could she have been so blind, so utterly trusting? The realization of her own vulnerability, her own misplaced loyalty, added a bitter layer to the raw anguish consuming her. The betrayal was not just his, it was a mirror reflecting her own misjudgments, magnified into a nightmare she could not escape. As Derek's hand brushed against the other woman's shoulder again, Ashley's vision narrowed, every peripheral detail disappearing. In her mind, the world condensed to a single point, the fracture between what she had believed and the unbearable truth before her. Each heartbeat became a drum of urgency, each inhale sharp and ragged. She felt the heat of humiliation creeping over her skin, the awareness that she was exposed, powerless, a spectator to her own heartbreak. Yet, within that helplessness, a spark ignited, fueled by anger, by the injustice of being cast aside so casually. It was the seed of resolve, the first flicker of a fire that would not be easily extinguished. Derek, meanwhile, remained unaware, or so it seemed, of the full gravity of the scene outside. He had been caught up in his own desires, his sense of entitlement, his belief that his pursuit of happiness justified the pain left in his wake. The decision to move on, to replace Ashley so quickly, revealed a selfishness that was both chilling and absolute. Yet, even in that, there was complexity. He had acted not purely out of malice, but from a mixture of human impulses, fear of confrontation, desire for novelty, and perhaps an unconscious attempt to erase guilt by creating distance. But the result was devastation, and he would soon feel the repercussions of the fracture he had created. Ashley, now standing in the rain, her clothes damp and clinging to her skin, felt the storm outside mirror the turmoil within. Each flash of lightning revealed Derek's silhouette, each roll of thunder echoed the pounding of her heart. Her mind reeled through possible responses. She could confront him, risk humiliation and rejection; she could retreat, preserving dignity but leaving the betrayal unchallenged; or she could harness the moment, channeling the searing mix of grief and rage into a force that would redefine the dynamics between them. Every option carried weight, every decision bore consequences that would ripple far beyond this night. As she struggled with indecision, the presence of the stranger beside Derek became a symbol of everything lost. It was not merely a woman, but the embodiment of her displacement, her obsolescence, the tangible representation of Derek's choice. The sight provoked not only grief but a violent surge of indignation. The delicate threads of civility, of past intimacy, had been severed, and Ashley recognized that there would be no gentle repair. The world as she knew it had ended in the span of a glance, a gesture, a moment. The narrative of her life fractured in real time. Memories collided with reality, dreams with disillusionment, leaving Ashley suspended in the unbearable tension between devastation and agency. She could feel the weight of every decision she had made leading up to this point. The trust given too freely, the love offered without reservation, the hopes pinned on someone who now turned from her without a backward glance. Anger, sharp and jagged, interlaced with sorrow, creating a duality that demanded recognition and response. It was a crucible moment, one that would define her path forward, shaping whether she would succumb to despair or rise with newfound clarity and strength. The world around her seemed to contract, narrowing to the triangle of herself, Derek, and the other woman. The background noises, the city, the rain, the occasional car, faded into insignificance. All that remained was the raw, unmediated reality of human emotion, love lost, betrayal exposed, and the unrelenting pressure of choice. Ashley's fists clenched at her sides, her body a conduit for the storm of conflicting emotions. Each breath she drew was both a pain and a preparation, a mix of vulnerability and latent power. She understood, in that crystallized moment, that the next step she took would either anchor her in misery or propel her into a confrontation with fate itself. Time seemed suspended. Derek, fully engrossed in his new attachment, remained a figure of casual disregard, unaware that his actions had catalyzed a transformation. Ashley, however, had crossed an invisible threshold. She had moved from victimhood to awareness, from passive heartbreak to active reckoning. The night air, damp and bitter, carried the scent of rain and possibility, marking the point of irreversible change. She could feel it in her bones. The path forward would be fraught, emotionally violent, and morally complex. But she was no longer merely reacting, she was preparing to act, to reclaim agency, to confront not only Derek but the raw, unfiltered consequences of betrayal. The cityscape around her became a stage for the unfolding drama, a silent witness to the emotional collapse and reformation happening within a few meters on a rain-soaked street. Every reflection in the puddles at her feet captured fragments of the scene, her anguished face, Derek's obliviousness, the woman who had become a symbol of displacement. In these reflections, Ashley glimpsed a future shaped by choice, where anger could be a catalyst rather than a curse, where betrayal could inform strategy rather than despair. The storm outside was no longer just weather, it was the embodiment of her inner tumult, chaotic, relentless, yet clarifying. Ashley stood on the rain-soaked sidewalk, each heavy drop falling on her shoulders, yet she no longer felt the cold. Inside her chest raged a storm of conflicting emotions. Anger, heartbreak, and a newfound clarity. Derek had walked into the arms of another, but this time, Ashley was no longer passive. Every step he took, every smile shared with his new lover, imprinted itself on her consciousness, transforming her pain into a sharp resolve. She realized that betrayal was not an ending, it was an opportunity to redefine herself. Her hands clenched tightly, her body trembling with each heartbeat, yet her eyes shone with cold determination. Ashley understood that to survive in this world, she could not merely watch. She would channel her fury as leverage, reclaim control step by step, making Derek and everyone around understand that she could not be so easily defeated. Her pain had taught her strength, independence, and the courage to face truth without holding back. Derek had shifted their place in her emotional world, but he could not take her will, self-respect, or resilience. From the darkness of the rainy night and the trail of tears, a new version of Ashley emerged, strong, clear-minded, and unafraid. She walked forward, each step surer than the last, leaving behind Derek and his new lover, carrying with her the anger transformed into power and a determination that nothing could shake. The storm gradually subsided, and along with it, Ashley's inner transformation. A new chapter began, no longer bound by the past or betrayal, guided only by herself. A woman who could rise from the ruins, turn heartbreak into action, and forge her own path. In that moment, Ashley was no longer the one left behind, she had become the master of her own destiny.